going to ask Sam to kick things off with a brief inquiry into the ways art, specifically comics, can inspire empathy. Sam Santos Julian is a cartoonist and creator of Octopolis, which is on his shirt. Also available in the back. A comic about a future world inhabited by intelligent octopuses. He studied creative writing at Stanford and is a 2023 resident of the Brown Handler Program.
Excellent. Okay. Inspiring climate action through comics. We have a lot of speakers today, so I'm going to try and move quickly and assume the following statements to be true. One, climate change is real? All right, great. It is being driven by human activity. Okay, I've seen a lot of nods here. And finally, we need to do something about it. All right, cool. If you're not on board with that, thanks for coming anyways. We appreciate you being open to new perspectives. Help yourself to snacks. All right. Now, climate action can take a lot of different forms, and there's a lot of healthy debate about the best methods to go about it. I'm not going to address any of that today. I think Lindsay mentioned I'm a cartoonist. Not exactly direct action, but ideas are powerful, and any large-scale endeavor needs to engage the hearts and minds of the individuals that are a part of it. Whatever path we take forward, it's going to require a little empathy. I believe that out of all art forms, comics are uniquely suited for communicating empathy. So, I'm here to say that with the right message, comics are the perfect way to inspire meaningful climate action. Great. So, empathy. What is this phenomenon that can seemingly motivate people to act beyond their own self-interest? Here, I will cite neurobiologist Dr. Robert Sapolsky, who defines what we call empathy as a complex response to stimuli involving both emotional and cognitive components. Hearts and minds. Okay, technically it's all mind, just different regions. Scientists in the audience, please forgive me, I'm simplifying quite a bit. But essentially, when our social mammalian brains observe pain, they project that pain onto our own sense of self, causing an affective or emotional response. Rats will exhibit a fear response simply from seeing another rat in discomfort. But here's the catch. That emotional response depends on cognitive recognition of that pain. Why is that important? Because the rat is going to have a much stronger effective response if it's seeing a rat it knows. Now, our brains are quite a bit more sophisticated. We can empathize not only within our own species, but with these poor rat scientists. So, while our ability to empathize is highly flexible, it is still ultimately governed by these internal categorizations of us and them, with all of the problems that come with that. The good news is, you can adjust your brain's definition of us and them, but it takes effort. To quote Sapolsky, doing so requires greater frontocortical activation. You must suppress the automatic and implicit urges to be indifferent and do the creative, motivated work of finding the effective commonalities. Now, I heard the word creative, so let's talk about comics. In the meta-comic Understanding Comics, author Scott McCloud explores how cartoons abstract representational imagery into simpler, iconic forms. Paradoxically, this stripping down of the image actually engages us as an audience more readily than a realistic photograph of the same subject. Why this is when you're viewing a realistic representation of a face, your brain is noticing all these little tiny differences. When you're looking at a cartoon, you see similarities. Cartoons are therefore a shortcut to generating an empathic response because it's easier to project a sense of us onto a simple representation. That's the theory anyways. Just one fun example here. This is a poster by Walt Kelly for the very first Earth Day, featuring his famous character Pogo, the opossum. We have met the enemy and he is us. A powerful message, but what really sells it is Pogo here. Take a good look. Look how disappointed he is. Come on. Raise your hand if you feel sorry for Pogo. Thank you, thank you. Now let me remind you, Pogo is an opossum, and if you met him in real life, he'd look like this. Sweet animals, really. They're surprisingly affectionate, but difficult to empathize with when you find one in your garbage. All right. Now with these pieces in place, I can tell you about my comic, Octopolis. In Octopolis, I am asking readers to empathize with one of the most them animals there is, the octopus. Octopus has been associated with aliens for about as long as the concept of aliens has existed. The great unknown used to be below us, where there were these monstrous krakens. And then we figured out the unknown was above us too, and what did we get? Squids from Mars. So cephalopods have continued to influence depictions of aliens in popular culture to modern day. Now, octopus are not aliens, let's just get that out of the way, they're mollusks. But it is true they are wildly different from us. Just for starters, they got no bones. They can squeeze their bodies into spaces no wider than their beaks. Their skin can change color and texture. They got 8 arms, they're all covered with suckers. 3 hearts, they pump blue blood. Their brain is shaped like a donut. Literally their esophagus goes straight through it. They lay hundreds, sometimes thousands of eggs. And an octopus spends the majority of its life completely alone, only interacting with other octopus if it's to mate or get eaten, sometimes both. I could go all day with crazy differences about octopus, but similarities are a lot harder to come by. I think the main thing we recognize is their intelligence. Octopus are smart, they're curious, they can learn. Some have been observed using tools, like this coconut octopus. They're notorious escape artists in the aquarium, and there's evidence that they dream. While they don't raise their young, females care for their eggs in a way that never fails to break my heart. After laying her eggs, the female octopus stops eating. She stays in her den, protecting and cleaning her eggs until they're ready to hatch, at which point she finally crawls away to starve in a place that won't draw scavengers to her babies. It's almost impossible not to feel empathy for that kind of self-sacrifice, even knowing it's an inherited instinct. More and more you started to see positive depictions of octopus in popular culture. You may already be familiar with some of these examples. I think that we find octopus particularly fascinating because they're so different. They exist in this uncanny valley of empathy, where they're simultaneously alien and familiar. So with my work, I'm trying to straddle that line and explore the ways in which we do and do not empathize with this other that is the octopus. So, Octopolis is a sci-fi fantasy where intelligent octopus populate a far future Earth. All of the characters are octopus. The humans are extinct, presumably because nobody came to this event. A key dramatic irony, in fact, is that the octopus live in the ruins of humanity, but assume they were all built by octopuses because they're completely incapable of imagining an intelligent vertebrate. Now, I'm a stickler for detail, so I try to remain true to the octopus's basic body plan with my character design. My octopus have not evolved bipedal legs or mouths in front of their faces. No shade on these excellent character designs, it's just important to my theme that they aren't humanoid. Of course, if I were to draw a real octopus the entire time, it wouldn't be a very engaging book. Most of the emotive work would have to be done through text, not to mention it would take forever to draw. So, I use the principles of cartooning to simplify, focus, and anthropomorphize. Eyes are a particularly interesting case study for my approach here. Octopus eyes aren't very emotive. They have horizontal pupils, and they always look a little unamused, like they're judging me. I've found that to communicate emotion, it helps to vary the eye shape. Eyes really are the window into the soul when it comes to human emotional recognition. So, when I want to make a character appear emotionally open, I draw cartoon eyes. And when I want to emphasize a character's alien inscrutability, I take a more realistic approach. Looking at this spectrum, at what point do you connect with the octopus? What emotions do you read on its face? If I've done my job, by the end of my comic, you'll be able to empathize with both the drawing on the left and on the right. To know something is to love it, and I hope that through Octopolis, readers learn to love my octopuses and their world, which is ultimately our world. Because, like any science fiction, Octopolis isn't really about the future. It's about us. All of us, every day, are challenged to care about parts of the world that feel alien and other to us. If we don't learn how to consciously extend our sense of empathy from us to them, we will find too late that there never really was a them in the first place, and the enemy was us. Thank you all for your time. I'm crowdfunding the first issue issue of Octopolis this spring, so please, if this sounded at all compelling to you, head over to my website and sign up to be notified when the campaign begins. I also post as Octopolis_comic on various social media. We've got some absolutely incredible speakers here today who are actually doing direct climate action, so please stick around to hear them all. And with that, I want to hand it over to Lindsay to introduce